Well, hey, I'm Rob, and today I'd like to share a story about the old man and the sea. No, not the famous novel of the same name. Old as in me, Rob, and the sea as in the sea. How did I come to call myself the old man and the sea, and why am I wandering along the beach here in San Clemente talking to you today? Well, it's an interesting story. At least I find it interesting. You may not. So here's the background. We had this crazy thing known as the pandemic a few years back. And I started to notice that people were acting distant from each other. I mean, we were forced to be distant, right? And we had to wear masks and separate and isolate. But I started to notice that my clients, I was a business coach at the time, that people started to, I don't know, kind of be on these weird head trips, and people were so preoccupied with everything that was going on that mindset went from, an important thing that I would start a coaching relationship with to it meant everything. So I thought to myself, what can we do about this? How can I be of service? And then I thought about something that I've been doing, that I'd already been doing for about 30 years in San Clemente, which is this, walking on the beach. I've been doing this for decades, and I found it great to clear my head. Sometimes I bring a notepad and come down to the beach and work on creative ideas. I've always been a writer. Sometimes I just did it to relax. Sometimes I'd jog and it would be very, invigorating. But I just found it to my go-to, and it was so close. We don't live at the beach, but we've been about 10 minutes away from the beach for, over 35 years now. And so I thought, well, how can I encourage people to do this, to get away from all the worries, and not to mention our devices that everyone seemed increasingly addicted to. So what I started doing is, I was in a business networking group, and I started to suggest that we have walking business meetings. I live near this small craft harbor called Dana Point Harbor, and I would suggest that we meet at the coffee place and grab some coffee or tea and just walk through the harbor and walk out by the jetty and then, sit someplace and just talk. And sometimes I would do this with one person, and other times I would do it in small groups. And what I found is that this very simple thing shifted the conversation. It seemed to de-stress the clients, and we would have seemingly more productive conversations, and we would leave feeling refreshed and feeling reinvigorated, and so I started to make it a regular practice, rather than meeting people on Zoom, or if it was an in-person client, to meeting them at a coffee place, which is great. I would suggest, I would say, hey, what if you came down to the beach? What if we grabbed a couple of beach chairs and just sat on the beach and had our session there? Some clients, the people I work with, they love to get outdoors and walk or hike. So I started meeting people and going for a walk on hiking trails, or just stroll through a park, or find some place where there was a beautiful park where we could sit and watch the sunset. I mean, couldn't be more simple, right? Than to just get outdoors and talk. People have been doing it for thousands of years after all, and thought nothing of it. But the pandemic years really brought to the fore something that we've all been noticing for years, and that is that you will see people out having lunch with someone that they obviously know, either a friend or a business associate. And instead of talking to each other and having a conversation, they're glued to their cell phone and some dialogue or text or social media with someone else. This has become a problem. And that was another reason that I started suggesting a meeting at the beach with my clients. Because, I don't know. Like I said, it just seemed like a big problem, a big societal problem. And I took it as far as suggesting or even insisting that the client either turn the cell phone off or even leave it in their car when we had these walks. So anyway, this kind of began very casually on the side, but people liked it. Almost all of my existing clients moved over to working with me this way. And, I would suggest that at least if we meet several times a month, that at least one of them be in an environment like this. And what I found is that the conversations would be deeper and more relaxed and seemingly more effective. So then I had this crazy idea. What if this actually were like a business? Like a business. That means reconnecting with nature, getting outside. And the more I thought about it, I started to research it. I started to reach how much time do people spend outside each week anyway? And I discovered this crazy fact that the average American only spends 7% of their time outdoors. That means 93% of the time we're either inside our house or our apartment or our condo or in an office building. 7%, that's not a lot. The next thing I looked at was screen time. And the very revealing factoid I uncovered is that, again, on average, Americans spend 10 hours a day staring at a screen. That might be their cell phone, that might be a television, that might be a laptop, that might be a tablet computer. 10 hours a day, 70 hours a week, year round. That's like 3,650 hours a year staring at a screen. That's the majority of our waking hours, right? I mean, if we're awake 14 to 16 hours and sleep like 8 hours, because most of the time we're fired up and we're looking at a screen. So when you put those together, 7% of the time spent outdoors and 10 hours a day staring at a screen. Is it any wonder that we are feeling disconnected? And it's really kind of ironic, isn't it? I mean, we are more hyper-connected than ever in history with our instantaneous ability to communicate with people all around the world and to take in information in just a remarkable way. I mean, it's really a miracle. But this miracle has turned out to have a pretty enormous downside. Next thing I started to do was think about, well, what are the actual benefits of being outdoors? And since I love to go to the beach, I started looking into that. You may have heard about negative ions. These are created when the waves crash by the shore. The same phenomenon happens near a rushing river or especially at a waterfall. And it releases these negative ions that actually have a calming effect on our nervous systems. And it's said that that's really one of the reasons that we enjoy being at the beach and finding it so relaxing. That, combined with the fact that the sound of the waves and just, when you peer out of the wave, has a sort of gentle, almost hypnotic effect. I mean, look at all the, um, the relaxation products that are available that you can get an app for. Very popular one is just ocean waves. Next thing I looked at is something called earthing or grounding. Have you heard about that? Basically, it means walking barefoot and staying in touch with the earth. And there's plenty of research that's been done on grounding. In fact, there's a book called Earthing. And another time, or maybe I'll put that in the description below. It's a huge book, well documented, about the many health benefits of when our bare feet hit the sand or the grass. And that's another reason why people like to be at the beach. So anyway, back to our story. Oh, by the way, you might hear in the background a train going by. There are commuter trains and Amtrak trains that come by here, right by the beach in San Clemente. If you ever get a chance to hop on one and ride through here, it's really, really pretty awesome. Anyway, so during those crazy pandemic times, my business has slowed a little bit. Good news there was that I was given the time to work on this new idea. Got a lot of people's input about it, thought about it, and decided that I would basically launch a new business, a new personal and professional coaching business, and I decided to call it Life Path Endeavors. And the point is to help people on their path of life or work with whatever endeavor they're working on. So I did not abandon business coaching. In fact, my clients are still mostly small business owners or entrepreneurs or independent professionals of some kind. So I started Life Path Endeavors, and I began with a session where we sit close to the water in a beach chair and just have a chat. I call it "Get Your Feet Wet." Haha. People seem to like it, and clients would then go on, and I would just build a custom program for them. I don't have anything totally preset, and we put something together, and I am now 2.5 years into this. And until now, it's pretty much been a word of mouth business. Finally, I decided, you know what? This is real. So I'm going to, get down to the beach and shoot some videos, and I just launched a website as well. So what do we do during these beach sessions besides just sitting and talking? Well, one of the things I love to do is just to listen. Let's see if we can just get a shot of the water coming in. Yeah. That's great. It's a great place to do some deep breathing. Great place to do a little meditating. You just can't lose with a day at the beach.